Merry Christmas, Scary Christmas, or whatever you want to call it. I got good news for you, is that the real estate market really isn't going to get much worse for buyers. I mean, everything we've seen over the last couple of years, the forces that have been at play that have made this a nightmare for buyers, they're not really going to get much worse. Now, inventory is going to continue to get better over the next couple of years, which is literally the number one reason why home prices have gone up and it's been so difficult to buy a home. On top of that, you have investors that are dumping properties at a record pace. All the investors that bought homes during the pandemic are starting to let go of them. And we'll talk about a little bit more why they're doing that in this video. But it's really good news, right? Next year is going to be not as bad for buyers. Now, when we're talking about inventory, right, there are a couple of factors that are really going to affect inventory over the next couple of years. Number one is that we really never had a shortage of homes here in America. If you look at the numbers, and not the number that they're trying to sell you on, getting into the real estate market and, overpaying for stuff. But if you look at the numbers, we actually have plenty of homes. It's just we had a shortage in the amount of homes for sale. And we all know the reason why. When people started coughing, people stopped selling, all right? But then there's the next thing that's gonna be a huge shock to home supply, and that is the silver tsunami. That's basically when the baby boomers, they start retiring, start downsizing, start looking for different properties. And we expect to see that coming over the next couple of years. Now, a lot of people are experiencing a lot of economic pain these days. And people are wondering, like, are we in a silent depression, right? Silent depression is when everything seems like it's going well, but there's so many people that it's not going well for. People are feeling really bad. I'll give you a story. Right now, as you can tell, this is not Georgia. Georgia doesn't have scenery like this and the beautiful mountains. Actually in Temecula, California, right? And over the weekend, we went to Sesame Place, right? Now, just to give you an idea, I've never been to Sesame Place before. It was actually my first time going, as I am a, pretty new father, right? But we got to Sesame Place and it was completely empty. Like, I am not an, event manager or anything like that, but I would imagine that there were probably 1,700 people there. So no lines for the rides. I mean, it was so bad that we actually bought the passes to skip lines to get on the rides. And it was so bad that we actually went to guest services and they gave us a refund because we really couldn't even use them. There were no lines on the ride. And so, comment below. Let me know what you're experiencing in your local area. Do you feel like we are in a silent depression? While, the news and everything says that everything is going so well, but people can't afford homes. People have been losing jobs as of late. Inflation is ravaging everyone's savings. Are we in a silent depression? What do you think? Also, while I'm out here in Temecula, California, this is wine country. Isn't it pretty cool? Or even this house that we're staying at for the holidays, it even has grapevines, right? Speaking of grapevines, I heard through the grapevine that the economy is doing well. Economists are saying the economy is doing wonderful. Well, if that's the case, then why are 62% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck? Especially at a time like this, right? So that means that 62% of Americans right now are tapped out, right? Spend all that money on Christmas and you're really just sitting back waiting for the next check, right? Probably got bills late, all different types of things. But if the economy is doing so well, why are 62% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck? But before we get into it any further, Genius Crew, you know what time it is. Drop the track. Welcome back. Genius Crew, what's up? We got another video going. If you're new to the Genius Crew, please like, share, subscribe. You like real news, real real estate content. I'm your guy. You're in the right place. Now, we're just going to keep on going like we always do it. We get straight to the point. Now, two things cannot be true. Two things cannot be true. Well, in this scenario, what I'm going to talk about, these two things can't be true. Now, you have people saying that they're going to drop interest rates, right? But I just told you that they're saying that the economy is good. Well, I want you all to do some research on why they drop interest rates and why they raise them, right? They raise interest rates because the economy is doing well, or reportedly doing well, and they raise interest rates, right? But historically speaking, they only drop interest rates when something is broken. So if you're seeing them talk about interest rates, but they're also talking about the economy being well, then those two things cannot exist in the same environment. If they're going to drop rates, then that means that they know that something is broken. Now, let's talk about the other side, right? For those of you who are wanting interest rates to drop, you need to understand what interest rates dropping means for our country and our stability on the global scale. So, not to go too deep into history, but President Nixon, unpegged gold from the United States dollar, right? Back in the early 70s, way before I was here. Some of my viewers, you were here, all right? Isn't this cool? Look at this, like, putt-putt golf course right here in the back. Didn't get to play it. I'm a terrible golfer, but it's here for you, right? Back to the point. President Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard in the early 70s, right? And long story short, the only thing that makes our dollar valuable is the United States military. Because if you get off of it, then we're going to come see about it, all right? That's pretty much the reason why people use dollars, because of the weapons that we have, the military that we have, and honestly, the damage that we'll do to anybody who tries to get away from our system. Now, back to my point. If you drop interest rates, right, again, what that does is that weakens our dollar. And I'm sure over the past year or so, members of the Genius Crew, I'm sure you probably heard about BRICS and other countries getting together to use their own currencies in trade. Well, if you are one of the fans of interest rates dropping, then that means that you also have to be one of the fans of America or the US dollar losing its reserve currency status on the global scale. Now, I know people are like, man, that will never happen. Well, if you talk to anybody who's say 60, 70 years old, when they were growing up, the British pound, right? That was what people used as the world's reserve currency. World War II, that changed with Bretton Woods. So it's not inconceivable that something like that can happen, but that's what's going to happen if they drop rates. So which one are you for? You want higher rates, and the US dollar maintains its reserve currency, we maintain our lifestyle as a country, or do you want lower rates so you can get into more debt, and then ultimately we end up losing our status as a world reserve currency? You can't have both. Now, let's talk about 2020. Let's revisit that again, all right? According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, right, the last recession that we had was in 2020. And they say that our last recession was really the shortest recession on record, only lasting 2 months. Now, I don't know, unless you're a complete idiot, I don't understand how you would believe that the last recession that we had in 2020 literally only lasted 2 months. I believe they said from February to April was the length of the recession, 60 days. Well, if it's February, it's not even quite 60 days, right? Do you believe that? Do you believe the numbers that they are putting out here? And if you do, I'd like to know what you're drinking. And if you don't, I would like to know, why do you think that they are feeding us this information, which we all know is not true, insulting our intelligence, and, kind of expecting us all to keep drinking the Kool-Aid or the Gatorade, whatever your preferred drink of misinformation is. And while we're talking about money, right, Benzinga released an article just talking about, what are the levels of wealth in the United States, right? Let's take a look at the notes, because I don't want to get it wrong, all right? So, in order for you to be poor, or you're poor if you have a net worth of $10,000 or less, you're middle class if you have a net worth of $281,000, and you're wealthy if you have a net worth of 1.9 million. Okay. And of course, I'm sure you all wanted to know the top 1%, you're looking at a net worth of about 17 million. So I know most people are middle class. Well, not most people. Maybe some of you watching are middle class, some, are varying range. But I want to talk about the middle class. If you have a net worth of $281,000, do you feel wealthy? Do you feel protected? Do you feel like, oh man, I could just sail off into the sunset, never have to worry about anything just because I have a net worth of 281,000? What about if you have a net worth of 1.9 million? In today's economy, where the median price home is right at about 415 last time I checked, 1.9 million. Do you feel good about that? Do you feel safe? Does it seem like you have enough reserves to call yourself wealthy? I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Now, while we're on that topic, right, we've got Redfin. Redfin, everybody knows I don't really care for their CEO, but sometimes they put out good information. And they said that this year, only 15% of the homes that hit the market were actually affordable, right? 15%. Isn't that wild, right? How are we living in a time to where the economy is doing well if only 15% of the homes are affordable? I'd love to know how much this Airbnb we're staying in costs. I'll have to look that up. Maybe I'll post it in the comments. But 15% of the homes are deemed affordable, the ones that hit the market for sale. Now, here's what they consider affordable, right? So Redfin considers a home affordable if the monthly mortgage payment was no more than 30% of the median income for the local county. Now, I don't know about you, but as somebody who sells homes, I can tell you that we rarely sell homes to people whose debt to income ratios are below 30. All right? Not in Georgia. Now, I don't know what it is across the nation where you are, but in Georgia, more specifically Metro Atlanta, we see debt to income ratios. I mean, in my 7 years of real estate, outside of people who bought their homes cash, I haven't seen many people whose debt to income ratios have been less than 30%, or what Redfin would deem affordable. So, that's that. And lastly, when will the housing market get better? Well, I just keep it simple. One day, sellers will put their homes on the market and they'll find out that people don't want to pay the prices. We're seeing it happen right now. Just not a lot of people trying to sell their homes. And as that trend continues, as we get more inventory and more inventory, homes sell slower, right? Longer on the market, and buyers sit back and wait, you're going to start to see the housing market turn like none of these experts are telling you. I'm giving you the information here. I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm telling you, when this inventory starts hitting the market, that is when you're going to start to see the housing market turn around even faster than it is right now, because right now in a lot of places, the housing market is changing around, right? And I just want you to remember, for all of American history, mortgage payments up until 2020, average mortgage payment was under $1,500. It's now over $2,500. All right? So you tell me, are we going back to a time to where people are paying $1,500 a month? Maybe, maybe not. But guess what? The housing market is not going to get much worse for buyers. Peace.